the relationship between the Picard brothers so well. You absolutely, this one scene, you're like, oh boy, this is going to be a rough reunion.
So then we switch back to Enterprise. Beverly is mixing drinks for her and Troy in her quarters. They're talking about this shore leave and, oh, Troy, you think you might go somewhere? She talks about going to Angel Falls, blah, blah, blah. Then there's a knock on the door, and it's somebody with a large, like, crate chest or something for Beverly. So they sit it down, and she opens it, and we see that it's got her deceased husband's name on it. She opens the lid, and she starts taking out things. Apparently, she's put this in storage after he passed away on Earth, and since they were there, she had them pick it up. And she's got a jacket, and it really reminded me of one of the movies. Like, that jacket reminded me, because I could just picture, like...
yeah, that's the Wrath of Khan.
William... Yes. I was like, I could picture William Shatner in a similar looking jacket. And I was like, oh, look at that. And, she's just like, oh, it's just odds and ends. And she's like moving things out of the way. And she, like a lace tablecloth or something. Because she said that it was his stuff. And then she said it was odds and ends. And I just thought that was amusing. Because it wasn't obviously all his stuff. Anyway. And then she pulls out a book that says... something about how to advance your career through marriage, and that was his way of proposing to her while she was in medical school. And it's like, oh, what a keeper!
I thought that was really endearing, actually. Like, it spoke to his personality. Like,
yes.
Yeah, I love that.
I thought it was funny, and I was like, I know people who would hate that. But then she finds this little chip, I guess. It's about, like the size of a flash drive now. Like, I imagine then it would probably be much smaller, but hey. And it's a hologram message from Jack to Wesley. His plan was to do these throughout his life so that his son would get to know him as he grew and changed and became the man he was when he thought that he was going to still be around. And, she has this dilemma on whether to give it to Wesley or not. And so her and Troy talk about it. And
I have to say, and Brian, I definitely want to hear what you think about this, but I actually really hate this whole C plot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
God, thank you. I was just going to say, like, out of all the subplots, this is the worst. Like,
yes.
Why fucking throw this in this this is ridiculous.
I hate this C-plot so much. I understand why they threw it in here. They wanted two reasons I think they threw it in here was, number one, they want to continue this idea of family, and so they throw in this whole, oh, remember Beverly used to be married to Jack Crusher? Like, let's throw that in here. And this is also around the time when Will Wheaton was very dissatisfied with how his character was being used on the show. He wanted to be in more episodes, more scenes. And so the writers were looking for ways to write him in to stuff to keep him happy. But I think that this is so clunky and so ridiculous and boring. I don't care about Wesley's dead father. I didn't really have any.
I didn't really have any notes except for just what happened in the scene, and that was it. Then I'm just going to skip to the next scene of this part, and we'll just get it out of the way, because then it's her telling him about it. And he's like, Mom, I don't understand. And I wrote, says, Mom, I don't understand. He should have that printed on a t-shirt.
Mom, I don't understand.
But we see him later and he goes to the holodeck and he watches it. And of course, Jack is like, I'm sorry I couldn't be there. This job takes me away. And and then he says sort of a creepy thing about, like, it's fine. Oh, I feel like we have a connection. But he's like, I feel you're my son, and we have this connection, and I'll always be a part of you, kind of thing. And I'm like, it's so, like, dramatic.
The dumbest shit in this was when he goes to reach for him, Like,
fucking hologram!
God.
Wesley's supposed to be a fucking genius. It's a hologram, you idiot.
He's caught up in the moment, and of course he disappears right as his hand. And the camera work there was shitty too. Did you notice the camera shaking? Like the cameraman was all choked up and crying over this emotional scene. Give me a fucking break. This was terrible.
Laughing? You mean he was laughing?
Yeah.
He was laughing. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I really, this whole C plot is so dumb. They could have taken this time and split it up and give a little bit more to the Picard story and give more to Worf. That's all I needed.
They could have killed Wesley Crusher and brought together his family at the funeral. Right? Kept with that theme.
But you know what's weird? Like, I was never, even though Wesley was like the youngest member of the crew and like theoretically like he was about my age, a little bit older, I never liked his character. Never liked Wesley Crusher. That comes down to writing. Nothing against Will Wheaton, but that comes down, I think, to the writing. I just never cared for his character.
You don't know how to write women or kids.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Women and teens.
Women and teens.
You'd think, like, yeah, that would, that's a great point. Even as a child, like, I never connected with Wesley Crusher, ever.
Nope.
Yeah, and that was the point. Like, that character was supposed to be a girl when they first wrote the Next Generation Bible, and then they changed it because Gene Roddenberry wanted a character that reflected himself as a young man. And so that character was changed to a boy, and they cast, Will Wheaton. Will is supposed to be Gene Roddenberry, basically, as a young man. So he was sci-fi.
He was a whiny idiot savant.
Oh,
is that what it was?
I guess. I mean, listen, I need a T-shirt that says "Shut up, Wesley," because that's the best. Those are the best lines. Shut up, Wesley.
My favorite thing about Wesley was just that one uniform that he wore that had the little like rainbow stripe across it.
Yeah.
Is that sad?
A rainbow stripe.
I didn't care anything about him.
Brooke is like, I just want those in pajama form.
Yeah.
He also sometimes wore
like a jump.
Yeah, that would be cool. He also did wear that gray jumpsuit for a long time, and then he also occasionally wore Cosby sweaters. Like, especially in the first season.
I forgot about that.
In the first season is 87. He wore a lot of Cosby sweaters. Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully that's as far as that comparison goes.
One would hope that that's as far as his connection to Cosby goes.
There's all these allegations on the Enterprise.
Don't hang out with Wesley Crusher in the holodeck. Suddenly things happen.
That's what they call him, Crusher.
Because he crushed his teeth when he fell over from trying to grab a hologram?
No, because he's crushing all that poontang.
Sure. If you say so.
That's funny.
Anyway, okay, back to a better story. We open up, we're in engineering, people are talking about this isn't working, this is going, this is how this is going, whatever. Worf comes in with his parents and Geordi. And we have Sergei mid-story talking about, adolescent Worf and describing a incident where they had to go get him at school because he was in a fight, and turns out he beat up like 4 teenage boys or something. They all had bloody noses.
5.
Was it 5? Okay.
It was 5, yeah.
And it's great because he was like only 7 at the time.
Yes,
and he's beating up groups of teenagers, and it's a great. Of course, it's like the typical parents embarrassing you story, and Geordi's just eating it up. He loves it.
Yes, and you could. I wrote in the notes, Worf is as visibly annoyed / mortified as a Klingon can be.
Yes.
Because really he is. And I just love it. Like, I love LeVar Burton doing this role of Geordi LaForge. Like, there's like a little bit where Geordi is kind of creepy, and so anyway, that doesn't matter. It's a different episode. But most of the time, he's wonderful, he's weird, he's delightful, and I love LeVar Burton's laugh, and he was just laughing so much at this story. It just warmed my heart.
Yeah, here's the thing about Geordi. Geordi wants to the Enterprise.
Yeah.
He's in love with the Enterprise, is what it is. Like, he's, what's that? You know how, like people have fetishes, like a foot fetish or whatever, but, like, he's got, like, a machine fetish.
Remember that? There's that lady that married the amusement park ride.
Yeah. If Geordi could marry the Enterprise and fuck it, he would. Yeah. He would. And, I love Geordi LaForge because he has, like, no clue how to talk to women, but he loves machines, and the Enterprise is his girlfriend.
You saying that's why he's so close to Data?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. Out there somewhere is / fanfiction of Geordi and Data. I'm telling you.
There's no doubt.
Yeah, there's gobs and gobs of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say, like, this scene in particular, I love technobabble. I love Star Trek science fiction technobabble. The Theta Matrix compositor makes re-energizing the crystal so much more efficient. And I'm here like, yeah, it sure does, Geordi. This is way better than those Excelsior-class starships. Like, it's all sci-fi technobabble, and I fucking love it. Give me more of it. I love this stuff. And I love that Geordi calls his dad Chief. I love that he's like, sure, Chief. I love that. Like, he doesn't have to. Like, he's retired. Geordi's he's a commissioned officer, and he was a chief petty officer. He could just call him Mr. Roshenko. Still would be, polite and acceptable. But he calls him Chief. And I just love little touches like that in this show.
A thing that I forgot to say when we first met Worf's parents is that Sergei's like, I have all the schematics. He's so excited, and he's telling O'Brien how he's got all the blueprints and the schematics of everything. And I'm like, that's so cute. And then he tells Geordi, that's like an ongoing thing in this episode.
He tells
everyone
that he's got. This is like what it is when you go to a con and you're around other Star Trek nerds. They've all got the schematics of everything at home, and they're just looking at it, getting all excited about warp core re-energizing crystals and stuff.
Guys, just tag me back in when we get back to the Wesley Crusher talk.
Oh yeah, I know. That's the exciting bit that you want to.
I know. I'm waiting for the end when we get. Ooh, I'm sorry. I think honestly, Brooke, you kind of just nailed that whole scene down, so we don't have to revisit any of it, do we?
Oh no,
we'll just stick on the good.
We're done with Wesley Crusher stuff in this episode.
The series was eventually too, so.
Indeed it was.
Took too long though. As I said, Worf was getting like annoyed and mortified and all that, and Helena kind of notices, and she's like, why don't you show me the Arbitorium? Because, your dad's going to be here talking for hours. So they leave, and then we get this sort of, like, weird kind of, it's not weird, but this conversation. Sergei's like, I'd like to ask you a question about my son, and that's kind of like where we end. So when first time you watch this, you're like, what's going on? You don't know what's happening. And it doesn't turn out to be anything like spectacular, He's just asking people what they think of him and everything, and everybody loves him. But it was sort of interesting because it's like, oh, what is this setting up when you don't know what's coming next?
Right.
Kind of like that. That was just a little
thing. That is cool. Like, we don't know what that conversation was, and then later on, we find out, and it's very sweet.
Yeah. to skip ahead, I just love that he was